Good morning. Welcome to this session on quick and effective formative assessment with Wooclap. My name is Annelies, I'm Head of Expansion at Wooclap, and I'm accompanying higher education institutions in their pedagogical innovation journey to assist them with our tools, Wooclap and Wooflash. So very happy to be here with you today and to explore really how formative assessment can transform learning and really make it more engaging, meaningful, and responsive. And of course, how Wooclap can help you do that in a seamless way. And dear audience, I always like to start my sessions with a little icebreaker. And today is no different, so please feel free to scan this QR code you see on the screen to join this Wooclap session. I'll give you some time to connect. You'll notice as well, on the below right, there's an indicator showing how many people are connected. So I'll give you some more time, and then we can start. Are you on the Wi-Fi here? You can go on the Wi-Fi, which is called, let me see, IHG1 rewards, and the passcode is IC Berlin in capital letters. Luckily I have Wi-Fi. All right, I see 10 people connected already. Let me know if that's working for you. IC Berlin in capital letters. You're welcome. 11 people connected now. I see some people trying still here. I'll wait a little bit more. Okay, we should be good. So, dear audience, let me know which part of the world did you come from to join this session today. And of course, as we're in Germany, we've made sure to provide a detailed map as well, so feel free to pinpoint on the image and submit where you're joining from. I already see a lot of different people joining, be it from Europe, South Africa, welcome. It's nice to see such a diverse audience. Do not be there in the middle of nowhere. And of course, the indicator on the right will show that 8 out of 12 have answered this question. So it's nice to have such a diverse group with us. And let's start, because of course we want to see how this session is structured. Firstly, we'll set the context and the goals for the session. Secondly, we will dive into what formative assessment really is. And then we're going to try out some quick and effective techniques. And finally, we will open it for your questions as well. And we want you to leave with something tangible here out of this session. So by the end of this workshop, you'll understand the power of formative assessment and learn how Wooclap can be simple but a transformative tool to help you with that. And most importantly, leave with some concrete ideas that you can apply right away at your institution. So let's take a first step and try to understand what formative assessment is and some key techniques. And for this, I like to generate a word cloud. So if you're still connected, you'll see that popping up. And if not, feel free to scan the QR code again and join us for this session. So I'll leave that open for those who need it still. Feel free to join.
Hello.
Hey. We're using our phones in this session, so do not hesitate to scan the QR code. All right, so in one word, what does formative assessment make you think about? And I'll give you some time to answer. Be it one word or multiple word, because I see adaptive learning as well, student feedback. Extra marking, very important in some institutions, exactly. Some assignments, understanding, action. Let's see the list here. Diagnostic, love this as well. Getting back to my word cloud here. Feedback is really something that is standing out. And you're right about that. Grudge, sludge, nudge. Love that one. Good. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to close this vote here. And let's see how varied and powerful this concept really is, because if we look at formative assessment, what is it actually? Because at its core, it's really about monitoring the students' learning progress, both for students as well as instructors, educators. And this without really affecting those final grades of the students. So it's really an evaluative technique that informs both the students and the teachers about the progress that is made toward the learning goals. So really it is about feedback. So I was very happy to see that in our word cloud. Adjustment and supporting the learning journey for your students. And of course, we know that formative assessment is often contrasted with summative assessment. So unlike formative assessment, this is where summative assessment happens at the end of a learning period and are used to test and record a student's cumulative knowledge, right? So these assessments are often very high stake for students because they really influence the final grades, the graduation chances, and even future education opportunities. So while summative assessment evaluates those final outcomes, we know that formative assessment is really guiding that process. So you can think about summative assessment as a snapshot, whereas formative assessment is basically the GPS that will helps you get there. And to take it further, let's take a look. Please feel free to join. Let's take a look at some benefits of formative assessment. Because we know that for the longest time, traditional assessment methods have focused heavily on standardized tests that are going to measure the students' cumulative knowledge, as I already mentioned, rather than focusing on the quality of their overall learning experience. So basically, as a result, the students will focus more on passing than understanding and retaining the content of their learning materials. So formative assessment is here to remain one of the most powerful tools that educators and learning instructors can use to shape the learning of the student's journey. And it's really a low-pressure way to go ahead and monitor the learning progress of students without the impact on those final grades. And formative assessments really focus on feedback, as we know, learning and adapting as well. So it will allow you as instructors to just go ahead and provide that real-time needed feedback to your students ongoing to really identify the areas where they need to work on. So as an instructor, you're able to understand the needs of your students and how they learn to go ahead and adapt your teaching to the learning needs and the objectives. And a recent study by Redilat found that students who learn by means of formative assessment really improve their grades by an average of 12%. That's not nothing. So compared to a 6% that, of the increase when they mostly use other traditional assessment ways. So that is really something to retain here. And why is it that important? Because Formative assessment will teach the students autonomy, that's one thing, the self-regulation, but also self-pacing and better understanding of their own learning gaps. So it will learn to have better self-esteem at one point, so they can feel comfortable being honest about their learning. And formative assessment will really enhance the students' critical thinking as well. It really pushes the students beyond memorization and toward a deeper analytical understanding of the material at hand. And so basically, evaluating ideas and defending the reasoning to refine the understanding of the course content, this is what we would like to have. And students really need this. So when they repeatedly recall the information through periodic formative assessment, they will significantly improve long-term retention. And this is where formative assessment actually puts the focus on learning and understanding the course material rather than just passing it as we have with the summative assessment part. To check if you guys are still awake, another question for you. This is a polling question for us to understand what you think summative assessment is. And let's see, I'm going to show you the code again for those who are not connected anymore. Feel free to join. And let's see what you think summative assessment is in this case. So you have 4 options here. And of course I am able to indicate the right one at some point. And I see there's a little comment here. Should focus on the whole learning process. Exactly. So feel free to support your answer with any comment if you'd like. But I guess the biggest part of the group is quite convinced, as we are as well. Thank you for your answers, and congratulations on those getting it right. Now let's see how formative assessment differs from summative assessment, because we already know that summative assessment will evaluate the student's learning at the end of an instructional unit by comparing it to a standard benchmark, and they're often very high stake for students, so this means that they have a high point value for them. And one example is 2-stage exams. So this is where the student's anxiety for the test is reduced and the learning reinforced through peer discussion, for example. So first the students, they must go ahead and complete a non-graded individual test, and then immediately after that students can retake the key portions of the test in small groups. So this will help the students that are struggling with that comprehension and retention, as it will encourage them to listen to multiple perspectives of their peers. A second example here is pre-assessment review strategies. So very concrete, before any graded test or exam, you can run quizzes to practice self-explanation exercises and flashcard sessions with your students, for example. And these pre-test exercises will definitely help students to prepare much better for the exams and improve their retention capacity. And according to the study by Argowal and others in 2021, there's a 30% higher retention rate for students who engage in that retrieval-based review compared to the students who just study passively, which is just reading their books, cramming, highlighting. And as a third here, basically, post-assessment reflections are very important. So often overlooked that we see but it is the reflection time that is done post-assessment. And after students receive their grades, encourage them to go ahead and analyze their performance and go over concepts they did not yet understand and set those goals for future learning. Good. Let's take a look at the impact, the benefits of summative assessment in this case. At first, they will really help to make sure that a student has that accountability. And of course, the standard alignment in institutions, right? Because summative assessments will help to ensure that educational institutions and programs need meeting the standards. And secondly, beyond that individual assessment, summative assessment data provides very valuable insights on that program level, basically. And thirdly, when it's properly framed, very important here, summative assessment can motivate and focus student efforts as well. So by now we know both formative and summative assessment are playing a very vital role in education. So they both serve fundamentally different purposes. While we know that summative assessment provides important benchmarks and accountability, formative assessment drives the ongoing relearning process, so leading to significantly better outcomes. And when you're going to implement it effectively, but this is where we really see that it's supported, again, by that 12% grade improvement in Ridilat's research. And the most successful education approaches integrate both assessment types, but very strategically. So formative assessment creates the frequent low-pressure opportunities for students. And this is where we have practice, receiving feedback, developing critical thinking skills, while summative assessment allow lecturers to really validate the students' knowledge and provide the credentials for future opportunities. Moving further, I want us to take a look at some quick and effective formative assessment techniques that we can do with Wooclap. So if you're going to integrate Wooclap into your daily teaching, it can be done with these techniques that I'm going to explain to you. So firstly, making sure that you are doing a quick diagnostic assessment before class. So this pre-evaluation will assess the students' readiness. It's like a simple survey, an open-ended question that can really identify the gaps and also gather expectations for teachers. And this is useful for your lesson planning. And secondly, also make sure to use the formative assessments from time to time during the sessions, because as such, a playful word cloud as we've done, that's always a hit with students, and you can spot misunderstandings immediately, or the cliches, for example, on a particular topic right away, and which will give you the time to introduce the key concepts that you want during your session. But also the quick questions at any given time, we know that spaced repetition is reinforcing the retention over time for your students. So you'll notice straight away how well students will grasp the key concepts and what things you need to go over again or re-explain. And of course, a Wooclap tip here for an effective continuous practice, we can actually create and duplicate the Wooclap questions from one course to another. So this is really easy to go ahead and compare the session outcome and the students' progress as well. And then lastly here, after class, very low stakes assessments are very useful. So a self-paced quiz, asynchronously, or an open-ended question to evaluate the students' understanding, which is outside of the session time and even during the next session, just to see how much they've been able to recall and to keep them engaged as well. And you can also do this even from your working environment. So you can just go ahead and use Wooclap from within your LMS. You can either export the individual or the group results as well and share them by email, so you can provide a quick feedback and support longer-term learning. How can we do this? Because we know at Wooclap we can provide more than 20 different types of questions. So you can create with or without AI. And for the AI part, you can even base it on your own learning supporting material, or your notes, a syllabus, any other presentation. And of course, you can also incorporate your own special prompts as well. As I said, incorporate it into your current working environment. So this means that students do not need to toggle between too many windows to stay engaged. And the focus is still to learn effectively. Good. Let's go over the question time. This was it for me. So feel free to go ahead and ask any questions. I'm going to launch a brainstorming questionnaire here. So feel free to ask any questions you might have, voice yourself, or make sure that you can enter any question on any category, be it formative assessment, Wooclap, or any other topic. That's a different one to understand. So feel free to voice yourself or resubmit your question. It really depends. I think it's a very good investment. And how much does it cost? We can also go ahead and ask for your student headcount, because we actually base ourselves on that for the pricing. And you'll notice that this is something that is quite similar as we have to other solutions, very open. But feel free to join our booth and I can give you more exact pricing on that. Various types of questions. Well, if I use this exit button here, I'll do that when all of the other answers, questions come in. And I'll show you that as well. It does work with Keynote as well. We don't integrate as such, but you can go ahead and integrate your Keynote on Wooclap, yes. The sources that can be used to generate content on Wooclap with AI, good question. So be it a text, a syllabus, a PowerPoint presentation, a YouTube link, even any of your notes, you can go ahead with that. This is an interesting one as well. How can you expedite the process of delivering formative assessment for large cohorts? I think it also depends on your program structure. So basically, if you have those large cohorts, I would really say and advise to go ahead with a preset of formative assessment questions. So you can just go ahead and duplicate where you need, change where you need, and set it up per program head, if I'm right, if I say that right. And come by our stand. I'd love to check in on the use case more in detail as well. How your current partners would qualify your approach? Well, to date, we are working with a lot of business schools globally. We see that a lot is still changing. Some of them are ready for AI, some of them aren't ready for AI. A lot of business schools know already the importance of formative assessment. But I think, and that is my personal viewpoint, we should implement it way more. And it's not having a Wooclap questionnaire with 15 Wooclap questions in one session. No, not at all. It's really like the key concepts and trying to have that spaced repetition for students. And this is where I feel that, yeah, the approach is quite qualified in that regard. Do you provide support materials for faculty training? Yeah, we have many, many support materials. We have customer success people that go ahead. Please feel free to voice yourself. Maybe the question is coming from you.
I can, but you can answer the question first, and then
All right. Well, the support is really there. So if we're on a site license-based licensing on Wooclap, we are going to support you with many, many things. So be it those tutorials, be it a dedicated person to help you with any of the questions that you may have, that is really in that package as well. Feel free to ask your question.
So I have two questions and a question. My name is Anders. I'm an associate dean for the executive MBA at the Norwegian Business School.
Hello.
I'm a professor of organizational psychology. I was trained in research methods when I did my PhD.
Yeah.
I've been sort of wandering around looking at the presentations for the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the presentations talk about effects.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what they are comparing their findings with, because there might be intervention studies, but I'm not sure what the control groups are.
Yeah.
But that relates to my question when it comes to you down the road. So I'm not taking you as a hostage for the rest of the presentation.
Don't worry.
But I noticed that when we are talking about effects of interventions, we need to have something to compare with.
Yeah, definitely.
Secondly, I think that you have a really strong case for your tool because, as you know, the professor from New Zealand, John Hattie, has done an extensive meta-analysis on the effects of formative versus summative feedback. And he finds that, on average, formative feedback improves performance for about 64% of students compared to summative feedback, which improves performance for about 16% of the students. For summative feedback, as you know, because you're nodding, the best students prosper most from getting grades, but the students that are perhaps struggling a bit and want to develop, they are the one that benefits most from formative feedback.
Exactly.
So my question to you then would be, have you done intervention studies, or are you thinking about doing intervention studies where we could look at how your formative assessment tool might help get the students going that would not understand the importance of activity and effort? We had a keynote yesterday with a related tool, and the conclusion of that keynote was that activity works for learning. And I was not shocked by this conclusion, to be honest, because we've known that for some years. But if you have a tool now that can help our students that are mediocre at best to start our MBA program and get them going in terms of how you can provide feedback, we will invite you to Oslo, and you can help us develop our program.
Lovely.
That's my question to you.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. On the first part, we have our head of learning innovation that is continuously checking in on the research, and this is what we actually do as well. So we're going to co-create with different universities, and we're actually checking in on that pedagogical value within research, like the script concordance-based testing that we have developed in co-creation with Bernard Charlin from the University of Montreal is one of the main topics that I always use as an example. But of course, we're going to need to go more in depth. And my colleagues, Erlen's role is actually to do that. So this is really upcoming. And I will definitely send you, if I may, going ahead with those research papers so you have a good base and a solid base for that. Of course, with the formative assessment, students are always going ahead to say, I want to pass. I want to have these credentials to go into my next year, to go into my next educational journey. Good, but they need to keep that growth mindset. If a mediocre student does not have that growth mindset they need, how can we develop, we can develop the most formative assessment tools. If they don't have that as a basis, it will be a little bit hard. So it's also a very good point as instructors and program managers to make sure that they have that self-esteem to go further and have a growth mindset. So I hope that is already answering a part of your question. And again, let's dive deeper in that research, and I'll be able to send you that as well. And thank you for your question, very interesting on that. Good. Anything else here? Let me see, the slide feedback mechanism is useful. Yeah, I think it will be a question of volume. As I said, it's not useful to go ahead and ask too many questions in one session, pinpointed, use it very strategically, because that is really necessary for students to grow. Otherwise, they will be too overwhelmed, and that is not what we want as well with those tools. The individual feedback, yeah. So basically with Wooclap, you can just go ahead and send your students immediate the feedback, so they can see how was I able to do in front of the whole group. So I have an idea where I'm standing. And this is again where I think my personal vision is here for the instructors to make time for the students and go over everything they have answered to and really see where the gaps are, so you can support again in that regard. All right. I'm going to hover over this slide here. So the last thing for me is to thank you very much for your attention. And should you be interested in using Wooclap, feel free to scan this QR code. Come to our booth. We're happy to think with you. Maybe you have some case studies that are particular you want to check in on. So feel free. I'll leave this up for a little moment. And I know that we finished the session a little bit earlier than planned, but at least you'll have some time still. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for that. So what can I do? I'm going to exit here. And you see that I'm on the Votes tab. So this is where your teaching happens. So if you're going to hover over a new question, these ones are featured. So maybe your institution is ready for AI or not. It's an option, okay? So to assess understanding, be it multiple choice, open questions, labeling an image, dragging and dropping on image, finding on image, matching question types, fill in the blanks, very useful for language courses as well. Finding a number where you have a tolerance, so we also support LaTeX and ACIMAT. Sorting questions, script concordance, judgment concordance. This is where we're going to present a hypothesis to our students and see how that is different with the expert opinions on the field. We have a framework question type, be it a business model canvas or a SWOT analysis or the 6 hats of Bono or a ARRR framework. This is where we actually are trying to, it's still in beta. So again, we'd love to co-create with universities and see where we missed something or where we can reintroduce something. A simple poll, a word cloud, the brainstorming, you've been able to witness that during the session. Ratings, prioritization as well. And then if you'd like to go ahead and add audio or video, you can do that as well. And you can make sure that it goes with your questions, for example. If you just want to go ahead with a simple slide, which is the text markup language, you can do so as well. A timer, if you want your students to just go ahead and asynchronously work on their ends, that's useful as well. And of course, they do not like to raise their hands anymore. So at some point, if it's your students or some subjects here, you can choose. So I hope this answers your question. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to still answer them. And otherwise, thank you again for your time. Enjoy the conference and enjoy lunch very soon.